Okay. All right, everybody. Like I said, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on your time zone. And I will try not to keep people too long. It's going to be an hour webinar. And just to introduce myself, I am Aria Mobile. I'm one of the members of the Shia Dewali Foundation board. And if you're not familiar with us, we've been around for like a year now. I can't believe it's been a year, but yeah, we've been around for like a year now. We're a nonprofit focused on international students. We do have a scholarship side for master's students. And then we've been doing this webinar series where we try to touch up on important topics affecting international students, be it employment, immigration, things like that as an international student, you would want to know, you would want to have that information with you. And we're starting off the year with a bang. We have Dr. Michael Taiwo here with us today, and I'm sure a lot of people here know him, but just in case you're one of those people living under a rock and you don't know who he is, Dr. Michael Taiwo is he came into the US as an international student himself. He does have a PhD in chemical engineering. Woo woo, I don't know how you did it. He's got a PhD in chemical engineering. He did it here in the US. And he worked for over a decade in the private sector. He's kind of doing his own thing now. He does the Michael Taiwo scholarship part. He mentors students and you know does a lot of mentorship in general. And as part of it, he also does the EB1, EB2 consulting part. So he's very well versed in the immigration part of things, where he does help with the filing. I hope I'm saying it right, but he does help with the petitioning for your for the EB1 and EB2 visa. So with that in mind, I will open up the floor to Dr. Michael Taiwo, and he will be doing his thing and giving us a bit more information about, as an international student, what do I need to know? What should I be doing? And maybe starting out, maybe kind of at the end of my school year, what should I be doing in terms of going forward? I'm assuming people joining us here, they're planning to stay, maybe work in the US, and so they want to have that information to help them. So thank you.
Oh,
I
that's
joining us.
disappointing. I thought most of them would go back to Nigeria to go and change the country.
To make things better. And I do have to put a little plug for Michael. Thank you so much, because Michael has really helped our foundation. I want to say from the very beginning, where it was still like in the early stages, brainstorming. You were very helpful with helping us put things together. I know I would message you every so often, and you were just very gracious, and you would always help me out with things. So I do have to say thank you. I don't think we would be here without your support and help. So thank you for that. So now the floor is open to you.
Thank you very much, Aaron. You and Stanley, you have been very generous, and I want to say thank you for doing this. So, believe it or not, I would say every 2 to 3 months, I usually have a meeting with someone who wants to start a foundation. And this has been going on for at least 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And you know how many people eventually start the foundation? Zero. So you are the only one that we spoke and blah blah blah. And I was just like, okay, I hope they do it. Everybody else that I've spoken to, they don't. But you did it. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for you, and for pushing this through, because as you've seen, it can be a thankless job, and it's quite difficult. You're spending your money, but you're still spending a lot of time and effort and emotional energy, and not many people are built for that, and not many people can do that. You're like, I'm already spending my money, I don't want to spend any energy anymore. So I have a lot of respect for you for doing this.
Thanks for the work you do too.
Yeah. And each time, somebody says, "Oh, Michael, I need to meet with you. I want to, do a foundation, things like that." I try not to be cynical because if I've been cynical, I would not have,
But not a minute, yeah.
yeah, I would not have given you like my all, but I just try to always believe that anybody says that they're going to do it. So far, everybody haven't except you guys. So again, thumbs up. What you're doing is not easy. It's not common, and I hope you stick around for the long term. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. I will thank you also for your generous introduction because that's really why I'm here today. Um, I've walked, I think, the path from F-1 to OPT to H-1B to EB-2 NIW to green card and to citizenship. It's been a long, long journey. Um, I remember one time when I got my citizenship, I posted it on social media, and somebody said, "What? You've not been a citizen since all these years?" I said, it's
People
not
don't realize
automatic.
how long it takes to go through that whole process.
Yes, yes. They were like, "What?" And also, too, the thing is, some people, everybody's path is different. So sometimes some people will be thinking, well, I know someone who, went to the US and in 5 years they became citizens. So why have you been in the US for 15 years and you're just becoming a citizen? And it's just, again, everybody's pathway is different. I mean, there was even a time, that door is shut now, but when I was in grad school, that was when Obama was in power, right? Yeah. And shortly after that, you could join the US Army from as a student. As an F-1 student, you could join the US Army and immediately you're given a citizenship. No green card, not anything in between.
Yeah, I know a few people who were doing that, going that part where they were
Yes.
was
Like, can you believe that from F straight to blue passport? I was like, wow. Yeah. So I had a few friends who took that offer, and they. So imagine if somebody came last year as a student, and then now they're waving their blue passport, and then they'll be like, "What's wrong with you? You've been there 15 years."
there so long. Why?
So again, it's just different from everybody. Okay, so I want to assume, I'm just going to assume that most of the people on the score are already in the US, so that means you're on your F1. The F1 visa as of today, it's duration of status, which is very good. That means that as long as you're still a student, you are in status, you are legal, you could study. Now, a visa is a travel document. So your visa allows you to go in and out of the US. Your visa can expire, that's fine. But your status, as long as you're in status, you're good. For instance, last year, they changed the policy to say the student visa now is just going to be single entry 3 months. Doesn't matter. You come in, um, with that visa after 3 months is expired, but let's say you are studying for your PhD and your PhD takes 6 years. For all those 6 years, you are legal. Now, if you go outside of the US, yeah, you need to renew your visa before you can come back. So, in a way, it locks you inside the US, especially now that there is a ban out there on visa. If you go out, you can't renew your visa to come in. So, um, make luckily the US is a big country. So, even if you don't go out in 5 or 6 years, use that opportunity to explore all the 50 states, and maybe if you're bored of your school or of your town, visit another town or school, um, and just get familiar with the US, especially because of this ban. So please don't leave the country because you won't be able to renew your visa. But a visa is only a travel document. You can also be out of status and illegal, even though your visa is current. So, for instance, if they give you a 2-year visa and immediately you come in here, maybe for whatever reason, you couldn't pay your school fees, you didn't like the school, say you're no longer a student. As long as you're no longer a student, you're out of status. So you're illegal, even though you have a 2-year visa that says you could go in and out for 2 years. So again, being in status and being and having a current visa are two separate things. Once you are about to, I think the key for F1 is to F1 to OPT is to understand the timelines. It's you want to have your OPT ideally before you graduate so that you can start your job. I'm trying to think about what I did. Okay, so because I know that the time is going to start ticking, I did not um, I did not graduate. Let me just put it that way. I so my PhD actually took me 4 years and 1 semester. It actually is supposed to take me only 4 years. I was done in 4 years, but I did not get a job. I was looking for a job in my last year of PhD and I couldn't get a job on time. So I just said to myself, you know what, I'm going to use a whole semester to look for a job. That's only going to be my full-time job is looking for a job. And I'm not going to graduate. I'm not going to turn in my thesis until I get a job, you know? And it's the reason, number one, because of this, I don't want unemployment days to start accumulating on my OPT. I don't want to just put myself in a place where I'm desperate, right? I'm accumulating unemployment days. Of course, I still need to be paying my rent and nothing is coming in. So financially, it doesn't make sense for me. Immigration wise, too, it doesn't make sense for me. So I just told myself I'm going to, you know, spend a whole semester looking for a job, and that was what I did. I And luckily I got a job. So, and then I said, hey, they said, oh, we need you to resume, I think next month. I said, no, no, I can't even if I'm still a student. So, but I can resume immediately after I graduate. So I finished, I graduated May 12th. That was a Saturday. And I resumed May 16th. That was a Wednesday. So I was only unemployed for like 3 or 4 days. And so one of the things I'm going to tell you guys is, honestly, your focus should be on getting a job first. Because if you graduate without that, it's going to be the days will fly by really quickly. So you can apply for up to 90 days before your program end date, right? And no later than 60 days after. So if you're going to be finishing May 20, you can apply 90 days before May 20 and no later than July 20. Um, Again, you can't have unemployment days more than 90 days to accumulate on your OPT, which is why it's quite important to land on something uh, before that. Now, OPT is 1 year. If you are in STEM, and many of you are in STEM because that's how you got your fully funded offers. If you are in STEM, you can extend that by 2 more years. So you can be on OPT for 3 years. Now, it's not automatic. There are some conditions attached to that. You need to be with an employer that is e-verified. You need to actually be in a job that is in a STEM field, very, very much related to your major. We have to verify that you're actually in STEM. Your course has to be on the DHS STEM list and things like that. But it's possible for you to go 3 years. Um, and then after that, what? Some employers would file the H-1B for you. Some will say you're on your own. That is where, even though you need to start looking for a job. You also need to start thinking of how am I going to get my permanent residency? Because at the end of the day, that is what is going to give you the freedom that you need. Uh, Career wise and also just immigration wise, going in and out of the country. So the pathways that will allow you to self-petition the EB1A and the EB2NIW. There are other pathways, but it depends on your employer. Your employer will have to do that for you. Many employers will not, and they will tell you that right straight up. Some will promise it with conditions. Some of them will say, okay, we'll bring you in on H1B. If you're lucky, you get the H1B. Then after you stay with us for maybe 3 years, we'll start the EB process. Uh, what I can tell you is, you always want to have your destiny in your own hands and not in the hands of your employers. Number one, employers are only after one thing, their own bottom line. The reason they're promising you that they're going to do something for you is because they think you're going to help their bottom line. If your performance suffers for whatever reason, maybe you don't like the job, so you're not putting in your best, or maybe you have some personal issues going on and you're not putting in your best, or maybe you just have a boss that doesn't feel like your performance is good, because performance is very subjective. This is not science where if you mix, carbon and oxygen, you get carbon dioxide all the time. This is performance is very subjective. So you might actually be doing well, but maybe you just have a boss that feels like you're not doing well. For whatever reason, if your performance suffers, it will affect your immigration status. Yeah, I was still talking to a lady earlier this week that they they filed EB2, not EB2 NIW, just the normal EB2, which is what your employer can do for you. They filed the normal EB2 for her. It was approved, and she was just waiting for a priority date to be current so that she can adjust the status. And then they put on what is called PIP, Performance Improvement Plan. You know that phrase when you start in corporate America, but they put on a PIP, Performance Improvement Plan. That's basically what they put somebody when they're about to kick you out of the company.
Yeah, that's not a good one.
Yeah, and 99% of people, they don't come back from PIP alive. It's a way to just get rid of. So yeah, so they put on a PIP and eventually they let her go. Guess what? She cannot use her approved EB2 for anything anymore. Because remember, this is not the EB2 NIW, this is the EB2. So it's very much tied to the employer who filed it for her. So now she's scrambling because she was run out her H1B. You can renew H1B once. So 3 years, renewable once for 6 years. I did that. I even extended it once. So I was in for 6+ years. So now she's scrambling. So my point is this: there are so many things that can go wrong. And sometimes your employer, they have the best of intentions, but they just couldn't fulfill their end of the bargain. In my case, let me tell you what happened in my case. So, I started with Shell. Shell is an oil company. Oil company, their fortunes rise and falls with the oil price. If oil price is going up, they make money. Everybody is happy. If oil price drops, they lose money. Everybody is angry and frustrated, and they start to lay off. It's just the name of the game. No matter how well an oil company is run or how badly it is run, the secret of the industry is everything still comes down to the oil price. You can have a poorly managed oil company, as long as the oil price is going up, 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 they're still going to do well at the end of the day when they publish their financial results. So what happened in my case was the oil price dropped. It created basically, so they started laying off people. And you cannot be laying off Americans and at the same time telling the USCIS and the Department of Labor that you don't have enough workers. So, we want to bring a foreign worker. So I was on H1B, that was good, but they could not proceed with the EB2, which they had promised that they were going to file for me because the EB2 requires what is called a permanent labor certification. They need to go to the Department of Labor to ask for a permanent labor certification. And basically the argument they make is, which is still what they do today, is, we looked around, couldn't find anybody with this skill set that would take this wage in this city. So that's why we want to go and bring this Nigerian. But that argument is good if you are not laying off. But if you are announcing, you're laying off 400 people, 500 people, 1,000, and then you are still making that argument, the United States government, they're not going to listen to you. So basically, there was an embargo on the company filing for foreigners. So I was out of luck. My H1B is running out. The company that promised me that they were going to do something for me can't do it because of, not my individual performance now, but the macro performance. So that's why I said so many things can go wrong between you and your company. So I know a lot of you are students now, so maybe this doesn't apply to you, but keep that in mind. I do this now. I do EB1, EB2, and I talk with people working all the time. And half of them are panicking because they trusted that their company is going to do something. And for one reason or the other, the company is disappointing them. So now they're panicking. And I'm also saying that because it's a very easy mistake to make. Especially a lot of you are saying, oh, I'm busy, I'm doing my PhD and things like that. You are going to get more busy. By the time you start working, they will load you with so much stuff. So what usually happens is people start to work and then they have so much to do, deadlines and all of that. So immigration becomes something they're not thinking about that much anymore because, they are on F-1, they're on OPT, they have 3 years, they think they can put it, and no, they are making money. And, in some cases too, the company has told them that they are going to help them. So people just leave all that in the back burner until it is too late. So I just want to encourage you, please, don't let that hustle spirit die when you start working. Continue. The time you can finally heave a sigh of relief is when you have that green card in your hand. Then you can say, okay, you know what, I can just take things easy now. But until you have that green card in your hand, don't don't rely on a company, no matter how they say, oh, this is what we do all the time. Everybody in this department, we filed it for them. It might not, it might not be in your own time. Something might happen. They might be laying off. So anything might happen. All right. So you go from F1 to OPT. You can extend that OPT for 2 years, and then during that time you can have your H1B. Now the H1B is sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, sorry, my son was trying to catch my attention or something. The H1B is a lottery. And I did not know this during my time because I just felt, oh, you always get an H1B. But then that was also 2012, right? Things have changed. There are more people now applying for the H1B than there are available, slots. So it's a lottery, but it's a lottery that favors people who have a higher skill. They changed it last year. People who have higher skills and higher wages. So if you're going to be making 6 figures, and if you have a PhD and things like that, you are more likely to get an H1B slot now. And also too, because of the changes they made last year, they added this 100,000 barrier to it. but they shielded people who are in school in the US. So my prediction, of course, we'll wait to see how it actually plays out this year. But my prediction now is that more students in the US or people already working in the US will be able to get the H-1B than before. Because now effectively they're screening out anybody outside of the US. Very, very, very few people outside of the US will be applying now because of that 100,000 barrier, which means the people in the US now have higher chances. And then if you're already in the US and you're, coming out with a PhD or maybe you're already working in a place where they are paying you well, you have even higher chances. Again, these are still chances. Nothing is guaranteed. But H1B is a lottery. And I know people who they tried it 3 times and they did not get it. So again, what are you going to do if you try the 3 times and you don't get it? So that is where pathways like the EB1A and the EB2 NIW comes in. But for you to be successful at those pathways, you need to have a good profile. So the way to have a good profile is to do good work. So again, as if you need another reason to be excellent in what you do, this is one more reason. If you do good work, then you will have enough evidence to show that would give you one of these, pathways. Because of our time, I would stop now and field questions, but I think I've touched on the big things. Is number one is try to get a job before you get out so that you don't accumulate unemployment days. Uh, Number two is just always have this ownership of your own career and especially of your immigration journey. Even if your company has promised you that they are going to do it for you, don't relax because of that. Because at the end of the day, they can break that promise and there is really nothing you can do about it. Um, and the by taking it in your hands, I mean the EB pathways, EB1, EB2, NIW. Uh, those are the pathways that will allow you to self-petition. I would like to answer questions because that's actually what is in people's minds. So I don't know if
Oh yeah, we do have quite a bit of time for questions, and um, I already have one here actually. And thanks for the talk. That was really good. So I think what we're getting from this talk is really you have to be your own advocate. You have to make sure you're following timelines. You don't just take whatever word of your employer or whatever and take it as at face value. You have to make sure you're doing what you can be doing. Sometimes you're limited as far as what you can do, but at least be doing what you'll be holding your own end so that when opportunities open, you can take advantage of those opportunities.
correct.
So I do have a question here. So there's someone who was working in Texas on OPT, but because of these new policies, their OPT can't be extended. So I guess the person is getting at is, and I know a lot of people here are Nigerian, so with the new immigration changes, restrictions on Nigeria, does it affect the OPT extension for Nigerians that are here? I don't know if you know, if you have
Yeah.
that.
So unfortunately, uh, like people say, na so we see them. You know, so this happened recently. Hopefully, it's reversed soon. But there is a pause, a temporary pause on all immigration uh, benefits, including OPT. So yeah, so OPT extensions, there is an immigration pause on all that right now. Stanley has his hand up.
Okay, you can unmute yourself, Stanley.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Taiwo. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Um, I think my question was along the same lines of the current, policy changes in the administration. Um, I I've heard different things, and I'm hoping you can provide some clarification. One of the things I've heard is yes, while there is a pause for the identified countries for benefits, there are also some exceptions. So if someone's profile falls within a list of certain exceptions, regardless of that pause, the adjudicating officer can still proceed. Can you speak to that?
Yes, I can. And can I share my screen?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So I click on share screen. Please let me know if you can see this.
Yes, I can see it on my end.
Okay. So this is a memo that was circulated internally in USCIS on January 1. And it's January 1 because that was the day the presidential proclamation was supposed to go into effect. So USCIS sent this to their staff on adjudication. One thing you will see here is, so back to your question, Stanley, what are those exceptions to the old? So according to the memo, these are the exceptions. If you are applying to replace your green card, so if you already have a green card and it got lost or something like that, and you just want to replace it. If you're applying for your, again, same thing with your passport or citizenship document, or if you're applying for certificate of citizenship. So this one, N600, you're already a citizen. You are just applying for the certificate to be a citizen. So you are not petitioning to be a citizen or asking to be a citizen. Uh, just so you know. So an example of this is if you if you're a minor, if you're a child, and one of your parents become a citizen, on that day that one of your parents become a citizen, you are also now a citizen. And then you can apply for certificate of citizenship. So now what we call OPT or employment authorization, this is number 4. And if you look at it, they said this employment authorization that is filed under C8, C11, and limited C14 categories. I think what is important to note here is that OPT doesn't fall under any of these three. C8 is asylum, for instance. OPT is under C3. Okay, so it's not one of the exceptions as seen here. There are other exceptions, if you're coming for a major sports event like the World Cup or Olympics.
What about
Um,
exception 8? That
yes,
seems interesting. Yeah.
yes. So I want to come to that. So exception 8 says for alien whose entry will serve the national interest. So if you click on that and you go to the examples of national interest, it reads very much like EB1A or EB2 NIW. So they said, for example, a benefit request filed by an alien whose entry will provide significant benefit to the US. And they're giving examples: a scientist or a medical researcher working on a critical health project, an engineer who has specialized skills, or someone with unique expertise that will support US national security or economic interest. Now they say this is case by case and it requires approval from the adjudicative office. If an EB1A or an EB2 NIW is approved, you've already shown national interest. That's, I mean, literally, you have to show that your entry will substantially benefit the United States in the future for you to be given the EB1A. And for the EB2 NIW, it's even in the name. The NIW stands for National Interest Waiver. They are waiving the perm process for you because it's in the national interest of the United States to do so. The issue here is we do not yet have the memo or the step-by-step instruction on how to ask for this exception. So if I want to ask for an exemption, if I say, oh, I'm working on hydrogen technology and it's going to help, this pipeline project that is going on in Texas or in California. And so I need to be exempted from the hold. Who do I write that to? Who do I address it to? When should I expect the timeline? What else do they need to see to approve that exception? So those are the questions that are still remaining. Personally, we have, and by we I mean my company, we've sent some exceptions out. We're still holding our breath and hoping that they come back with a response, at least to say, yes, we approve, or no, we don't approve, and this is why. But it will be very helpful for USCIS to publish more guidelines regarding how to ask for this exception, especially when it's in the national interest. But to be clear, the EAD, or the employment authorization, especially the OPT, which is a C3, is not one of the ones listed in this. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that is very helpful. Thank you. Then this memo, just curious, this takes effect. This hasn't taken effect yet, has it? Or is it?
It has, January 1st.
Oh, okay.
So thank you. Does that answer your question, Stanley?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
So I have a follow-up question here to the OPT question. So they're asking if some of these restrictions, new policies, will it affect the CVIS/I-20 transfer?
That's a very good question. The best person to ask is your DSO, your designated school official. And I'm going to honestly advise you to do that and see what they say. And they will also know, because students transfer all the time. So if they've done a transfer recently and it has gone through successfully, then that's your answer right there. If I take an extreme view of this memo, the answer is no, right? Because they said all immigration benefits, all adjudications, all applications, and then they gave some exceptions, but a transfer of I-20 or things like that is not listed as one of the exceptions. So this is where it comes down to maybe how USCIS has decided to interpret that. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating, or how do they say it, is your school will know if someone from the affected countries has successfully transferred, especially since we're just starting a new semester. So maybe somebody, put in their transfer last year and it just went through this week or last week, which is still this year, we'll know. So I'm going to encourage you all, all of your students, you should go to your international student office and just ask that question. And let's see the response.
I was going to ask you a question. So for the EB1 and EB2,
yeah,
a lot of times I've heard PhD, PhD, PhD. How about for master students? Because we have a few master students on here.
Yes. So that's a good question. The EB1 and the EB2, people have this uh, uh, mindset that you need to be a PhD or you need to have so many papers and so many citations and all of that. It's actually not true. And it was one of the frustrating things for me 10 years ago when I was trying to apply for my EB2 and IW because I did my PhD, but it was an applied PhD, applied research. And I created a mathematical model that enables oil and gas companies to know where to put an oil well, such that if an accident occurs, it will damage the environment the least. So my model was optimizing for least environmental damage. And as part of the validation of that model, there were some oil and gas company that used it, and it worked for them. He predicted correctly where they should put the oil well, including the U.S. Department of Energy, who funded the project. So that was pretty much my PhD. It did not result in a publication because I knew I wasn't going for postdoc, and I knew I'm going to be a professor. I just want to finish the PhD, get to the industry. So and this is an important point. And at that point, they've changed the policy. At that point in my department, you don't need to publish a paper to graduate. So I was like, if it's not a requirement for graduation, I'm not going to do it. So I didn't have a published paper. So said definitely zero publication, zero citation. And when I was going to do my EB2 and IW, every single lawyer I met, the first thing they asked me is, "Oh, do you have a publication?" I'm like, "No," and they were saying, "No, no, no." But I just intuitively, and this was 10 years ago. It was before all these YouTube videos or people teaching you how to do it. I was just on my own, but intuitively, I just know that it doesn't make sense because I went on the website. There is nothing that says you need to have a PhD. There is nothing that says you need to have publication. It just says you need to meet these requirements. So show me how you meet the requirements. And so I went to work. It took me thousands of hours of study, uh, but eventually I was able to kind of crack the code. And I just told them, essentially, I created the model. The model works. If you allow me in the United States indefinitely, I'll keep developing the model and it's going to help more companies and it's going to be good for the environment. And that was it. I got straight approval. And I was like, when I immediately that happened, I was like, I think I've unlocked something here,
Yes.
you know? And that was how I started in this. And it's also why I'm doing it because yes, I mean it's good for those who have several publications and citations, but that is just one way. What really USCIS wants to see, and by the way, this is just a free advice. That's also what they want to see at your place of work. That's what's going to give you the promotion and the advancement in your career that you want to see. What USCIS really wants to see is what you've created. Show me what you've created and show me the impact of that creation. So the reason, so let me use papers and citations as example. The reason that is quite popular is, okay, when you publish a paper, that's an example of something you've created. You had this insight, you conducted this research, you gathered these parameters, you ran this experiment, and then you published it. So you created something, right? Then the impact of that creation is citations. People liked what you published, and then they started to use it in their own research, and so they cite to it. But that concept is true regardless. It doesn't have to be paper, citation, PhD. If you can show me something you created and you show me the impact of that creation, you're good. For EB1A, for EB2 NIW, it's okay, I did this and it resulted in that. I did this and I got an award. I did this and people were talking about it in major media. I did this and it resulted in me making a lot of money and I earned more than other people. I did this and it changed a department or an organization. And that organization is kind of distinguished in the field. Again, it's all about what did you do? What did you create? And what is the impact of your creation? If you have, man, I've given your people free stuff. People
I
pay
know,
for
thank you.
it.
A part is also documenting and showing the work that you're doing. So even while you're going
Exactly.
through school and you start working, you have to be able to document and show clearly communicate the work you're doing for your you want to put in the EB1 or EB2 petition, right?
Yes. What shocks people the most is that, you know, you know how we prize certificates and degrees, right?
Right.
So I this week too, I was talking to someone, keep in mind in any given week, I talk to probably like 20 people on this. Um, so this week I was talking to someone and they have like so many certificates, certified this, certified that, certified this, professional that. He said, so you're telling me that all of this certification can't get me like, I said, unfortunately, the answer is no. Like they want to see what you've created based on all those certifications.
Right.
Somebody that doesn't have any of that, but can say, look, I wrote this program, and this program has been downloaded 10,000 times on the App Store, holds more value to USCIS than your AWS certification or this certification or whatever certification you've spent a lot of money and time getting. So again, it's all about what have you created and what is the impact of that creation. If that creation is tangible, something we can touch, or intangible, something we can't touch, it doesn't matter. If it's commercial or scientific or artistic, it doesn't matter. Just document what you have created and what the impact is, and you'll be fine. And it
Thanks.
doesn't matter whether you have bachelor's or master's or PhD, whether you're a professor or whether you are still going for your master's program, it doesn't matter. There was a time in my team, we actually like looked at the degrees of all the people that have been approved. And it's like a bell curve actually. On one end, there are bachelors, and on the other end, there are people with PhDs, but really in the middle, most of them have just masters, you
Oh,
know.
wow. I
But
didn't know bachelor's. I thought bachelor's, but it's really about what you've done and you have to
it's
show
really about what you've
impact.
done. Yeah. And if you've been able to document it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
I have a couple of questions here. So let's see. This is another one. So for PhD students in their first year that already have a master's degree from Nigeria, do you advise they file for EB2 NIW using the premium processing, or do they have sufficient time to wait for the regular processing time?
oh, that's a good one. Well, because of the pause, I don't advise, and I've been meaning to write a tweet on this, but no time. Um, then maybe I'll do it after this webinar. Because of the pause, paying for premium processing doesn't make sense anymore. Because the reason you pay for premium processing is so that you can get your results in 15 days if it's EB1A or in 45 business days if it's EB2 and IW. Well, guess what? There is a pause in time. So even when you pay that almost $30,000, you're not getting your result any faster. So why do you want to pay that amount of money? So this pause actually has kicked the idea of premium processing out of the window, you know. You can
Right.
use that money for something else. Maybe use it to buy Netflix stocks and see whether it's going to triple or quadruple. So yeah, so no, you can just apply. You don't need to wait for. Now, when the pause is lifted, okay, you can then upgrade to premium processing. And that is something I noticed that some people don't know. You can always upgrade your application to premium processing later.
Oh,
So
interesting.
you submit normally right now, and then 6 months down the line, you're like, I really want to know my result. You can pay to upgrade. So it's not like, oh, once you submit,
Done
that's
deal.
it. No. So um
So I have
any okay.
another question here. Oh, sorry, did you want to add something?
No, that's it.
So the question is, in an applied program, how do you get companies to use your work or innovation? Do you leave it as open source models for usage, and how do you make sure you are acknowledged after they use your models?
That's another good one. I mean, you have to work with your professor with this, right? So the best person to actually ask this question will be your professor to say, look, because I mean, at the end of the day, really, it's you and your professor. We call it your work, but it's really it's you and your professor's work, right? So you want to bring your professor on board to say, look, I need this. I need companies to test it so that I can show the industrial impact, and it will help my career in so many ways. How do we open source this? And your professor can walk you through that. You can have them sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, so that they just don't take it and share it, to whoever they want to share it to, or even use it for their own commercial uses. So there are things that you can sign in there. And believe it or not, these are also the types of questions you can ask your graduate school body as a whole. Your dean of graduate school, for instance, to say, hey, I have this idea, I have this thing, but I'm worried that if I share it with companies, they might do X, Y, Z. Those are the things. Universities are very, very good with things like that, because if you think about it, universities are in the idea, they are in the business of generating new ideas. And we're in America. New ideas can be the next Google, can be the next Facebook. So everybody, this is you are not asking a new question. That's what I'm just trying to tell you. They know how to handle this so that you're not taken advantage of, and also so that you can test your model, because you want to test your model. What helped me is the fact that for my EB2NIW, I can say, look, these are real companies who have actually used the model, right? And of course, as part of my submission, I show them like the website and the module and blah blah blah, so that they know that I'm not just bluffing. So those are really good questions.
Thanks. Yeah, those are all very good questions. Maybe we'll end on this question because we're almost running out of time here. So the person is asking, I think what they're trying to get at is you did mention impact, and your impact has to be documented. So what exactly do you mean by your work or your impact has to be documented? Or maybe how do you go about documenting it? Maybe that's what the person is also getting at. Yeah.
Okay, that's another good one. Just think about uh, if you if you created a recipe, right, for how to say bake a cake, and you say, man, this thing is the best thing since sliced bread. If I say, prove it to me, show me, how will you show me? Maybe you want to say, well, I've licensed this to 50 bakeries across town. All those bakeries you're saying they're actually using my recipe. Then the next thing I'm going to say is, I don't believe you. Then how will you convince me? Then you have to say, okay, this is the license agreement between me and that bakery down the line, right? Okay. So now I believe that they are actually using your recipe in their bakery. And then if you can show me like 50 license agreements, then I believe that all those 50 bakeries are actually using your work. That's how you document your impact. But if you can't show me, then I can say you are just bluffing. And no matter the emotional energy you put behind what you're saying, it's not going to hold anything if you can't actually show me the license agreement between you and those bakeries. That is why it looks easier for scholars because citation takes care of that for them. If you go on Google Scholar and you see that 70 people have cited this paper, well, that's your documentation right there. But other people too can document their impact. I told you how I documented mine. I said that company used my model, and I got recommendation from the company, their VP of engineering. This is the letter. This is the guy's model that we used, and he worked. Got uh, letter from the U.S. Department of Energy. Yes, we funded this project, and yes, the model performed as predicted. That's another documentation of my impact. You know, if you did something and you won an award, you want to show the award. So what I've noticed is, in general, and by we I mean uh, people from Africa, we are very poor at documenting. You know, maybe you could say on one side we are like a we are a low trust society, but on another way you can think we are like high trust society, like, oh, just trust me. No, show me. Instead of saying trust me, show me. And we don't do well in that showing aspect. So whatever it is that you are saying, you have to be able to back it up. Just always think in terms of, I'm talking to someone that won't believe me. So I have to show them an evidence that they will believe. What will that evidence be? And I can't tell you what the evidence is going to be because it depends on your field, it depends on your discipline. But the bottom line is, whatever it is that you are trying to be proud of and you want to claim that, you need to show me. Like if you say, I have a PhD from University of Arkansas, well, I don't believe you. Okay, you don't have to believe me, but this is my PhD diploma, right? So that's the same thing for everything you're doing with USCIS. You need to show, 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 show.
Evidence. You have to show. You have to prove until it's like you're guilty, or you have to show. You have to prove your innocence in a way.
Yeah,
You have to
yeah.
show them that you actually deserve what you're asking for.
Exactly. They don't have to believe you, you know. So if you want them to believe you, you have to show something. And that thing that you have to show doesn't is a lot of times. So people ask me, oh, letters, letters, letters. I mean, letters are good, but don't get me wrong. Letter is just somebody also just talking, right? So the strongest piece of evidence you can use is actually, you know, those agreements, the awards, the concrete things that nobody can dispute.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This was really, really good. I feel like we touched up on a lot of topics, and it's almost like we could keep going and going, but we only have an hour. And I know you're a very busy man, so we'll try not to, and everybody to, thank you all for joining us. And most importantly, thank you, Dr. Taiwo, for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule and,
Thank you.
to speak with us. So thank you for doing that. And I feel like this was very helpful. I learned a lot from it. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. I love doing this.
And
I
come
wish I
back
had
and do something like
more
this.
time.
I know you're
Yeah.
busy, but maybe later on we might have, because a lot of things are changing. And I feel like this immigration thing, maybe once the dust settles, something else might, the rules might change, or maybe EB1 and EB2 gets lumped into something else. Who knows what's going to happen, right? And so we might, if you don't mind, we might call you back and be like, hey,
I'll be
come
happy
to
to.
us again.
Yeah. I'll be happy to help.
So thank you so much, and thanks everyone for joining us. I don't know if you have anything else to say before we wrap up.
No, like I'm going to say what I said before. I'm very happy you're doing this. I'm very, very happy that you're doing this. I think your Diwali will be proud.
Thank you so much. We
Yeah.
really appreciate you. Thank you. All
Have a
right,
good
guys.
day. Bye.